Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, guys. Welcome once again to Ektv Live with me, Khalil Muhammad. As promised, I'm going to be testing your ability to think, to retain information, and to be creative. This particular day, Wednesday, is your opportunity to be creative because we're going to follow on from what we did on Monday. We talked about the exciting and very ups and downsy sort of life of Malcolm X Al-Hajj Malik El-Shabazz, mashallah, an amazing hero, one that had a profound effect on myself as well and really kind of led me to become Muslim, alhamdulillah. Even my son is named after him as well, Malik, mashallah. Right, so we said we were going to do some drawing, and that's exactly what we're going to do today. Now, if you remember last week, we talked about some basic things that I believe if you follow these basic things, you will be able to draw, even if you're convinced. If you're certain that you can't draw, you've tried a few times and you've had disastrous results and thinking, oh my God, I'm going to give up, right? If you're that person, this show is for you and you and you and you and you and you. And there's always somebody out there who says they can't draw. And I hear you, I feel you, I really do. But I'm here to tell you that if you follow these instructions, and you have to be patient with yourself and the process, indeed, inshallah, you will be able to draw. I'm not saying you're going to be a Michelangelo. I'm not going to say you're going to be a Khalil Muhammad. But you're going to learn some basics and you're going to be fairly good. And the thing about drawing, you see drawings and pretty pictures everywhere, right? And you think, oh, I wish I could draw like that. And it's good to have a high ambition, but it doesn't mean that it always has to be an amazing piece of artwork, okay? Sometimes just drawing something for fun is just that. It's for fun. So there's different categories of artists. People that do it for fun. People that do it because they really want to make a living out of it. And when I left school and I went to college, I actually made a lot of money from actually drawing. Well, I say drawing, doing illustrations. I did a lot of Kung Fu game covers and stuff like that as well, Bruce Lee covers, and I did some work for Atari. So you can make money out of it if you are a little bit more serious about it. Right, the first thing I'm going to do in terms of this technique is talk about the grid technique. If you remember from last week, we talked about the grid technique. Right, let's have a quick look at our surface, and I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. There you go. That is going to be the picture of Malcolm X we're going to be drawing today. Okay, as you can see, he has all these lines over his face. Remember last week we did Ahmadiyya? You've got a line going straight down the middle, and you've got 1, 2, 3 horizontal lines as well here as well. Those are the grids that we're going to use to draw the picture of Malcolm X. This grid system will enable you to find the proportion of his chin to the bottom of that line, his eye from the side of there, this eye to the side of there, how high his head is. It gives you a point of reference that you can use to figure out what goes where. And it's as simple as that, you know what I mean? Like, right, what we're going to do, we're going to recreate this grid on our drawing surface here. I've got an A3 bit of paper, and we're going to recreate that grid. Now, it doesn't have to be exactly the same size. In fact, it can be bigger, it can be smaller. It doesn't matter, as long as the proportions are kind of close. So I've got a pencil here at the moment. I have a HB pencil. I'm going to swap that over for my 2B. I have to make it quite dark because it's on telly and I want you guys to be able to see the lines. Right? So at home, I want you to take your time and draw your grid in like this. Remember, it doesn't have to be exactly the same size as the original, which is over here, but it has to be roughly the same kind of dimensions. Okay, so you can see here, I've drawn in that grid. And as usual, as I said last time, and this is very important, guys, do not use a ruler, okay? I know it's tempting, you're thinking a straight line. Whip out a ruler, get your boot or get a side of something and you want to start using it to draw a straight line. I'm going to request that you resist the urge of doing that. Resist the urge of doing that and do it freehand. Do your grid freehand because you need to work your hands into that muscle memory. If you keep using a ruler, you're depriving yourself the opportunity of using your hand and getting used to drawing lines and curves and scribbles and what have you freehand. Okay, right, so we have to now divide this rectangle box here into the same dimensions here. So we can see we've got a whacking great line going right down the middle. We're going to find the middle point between here and here. It's right there somewhere. And draw that line going straight down like that. Okay? You might be thinking, yeah, but Khalil, that line's a bit wonky. It's a bit wibbly wobbly. Don't worry about it, okay? It's, at the end of the day, it's just about getting that practice, okay? We're going to draw this center line. I made this line at the center quite thick. So we're going to find the middle between here and here, so roughly there, and draw that line there. And then we're going to divide that piece in half and this piece in half as well. Again, guys, I know my lines are very, very dark, but I have to make them dark so that the camera can pick it up. Otherwise, you won't see what I'm drawing. Right, so the second thing we're going to talk about is basic shapes. Malcolm's head is that of a human being. And a human being's head is like an egg shape, which is like an oval. Because I said circle the other day. My wife says, no, you mean oval, Khalil. I was like, oh, whatever, man. Yeah, okay, it's like an oval, an egg shape. So we're going to see how far from the top point here his head is. Does it touch the top line? No. From here, it's about here somewhere. I'd say it's about there somewhere. And his face is about halfway between this point and this point. It's about halfway. Say halfway is there. It's just over halfway. So here and here is half. It's about over halfway. So his face is going to come down here. And it's going to go kind of square because of his hair. It's slightly square-ish. And then the bottom of his beard, I'd say is just under halfway. Here, something like that. And then it goes back up. This is the same pose, the same kind of profile that we did for Amadida last week. But that's all good. It's okay. And I did that on purpose because I don't want to change things up too much for you guys to confuse you. Right? You can see that line goes down. His back of his neck goes down to his shirt. And we can't see the end of his shirt here. So I'm just going to put that line in here. I don't know if you can see that. Probably not. I'm going to put that line in to represent the end of his shirt, which is going to be about here somewhere. Okay, then his jacket, the white line goes down here. Okay, and then his tie goes, oh no, before we do his tie, let's do his neckline that goes down about here. You see how I'm using the grid to figure out what goes where? You see that part here, the line of his tie kind of goes round here and goes round there, and that line of his shirt collar, and then it goes here. It touches that line. It ends right there. So we're going to end right there on that line as well. And then we're going to continue that line for the tie there. And then his shoulder slopes way down. It just goes way down here, like this, with a little peak for his shoulder. And that line goes there. Now I'm going to rub out this line here, which is incorrect. Now another good practice that I'm trying to get you guys into habit of, as you can see, I'm rubbing off here, and there's flakes. I know it's tempting to use your hand to brush it away, but remember what I said. Use a scrap piece of paper like this or a bit of tissue. Use that to brush away the flakes. Okay, get into those good habits because you're going to smudge the picture after all the hard work you put into it. You're going to smudge it and you're going to make it look awful. Okay, so use a bit of tissue to knock away those flakes of rubber. Right, so now I'm going to start putting a few more details, just a tiny few more details on his shirt, on his lapel here as well. We've done those basic shapes, as I said before, and at that point, we're not going to do any detail. We're just trying to make sure everything is in its right position and everything in its right proportion. See, the rim of his glasses is kind of here. His nose doesn't touch that line. It's just above that line here. Okay, you can see I'm just knocking in the basic shapes of where things go. And even his hair kind of up here, it kind of goes back. He's got a fade, or what we would call a fade these days. Anyway, I don't know what they called it back in the olden days. Because remember, Malcolm was around during the 50s and 60s. All righty then. I'm going to put, so you can see I begin to just slowly put in where I think his eye goes, the rim of his glasses go, the inside here, okay? And you will make mistakes, and this is where so many people become a bit discouraged with their artwork because they make too many mistakes and they think it's not working. But I promise you, if you stick at it, you will get better. You will definitely get better, okay? So I'm just going to put in a few of these shapes. We're going to go for a break in a short while, but I want you guys to have a go at this. If you've got any artwork that you've done before that you want to send to us, you are more than welcome to do so. Of course, that WhatsApp number, we're going to put it on the screen shortly, and you'll be able to send your artwork there. Okay, right, we're going to go for a quick break, and we're going to continue to put in a bit more detail, slowly, building it up, inshallah, right? You can come back to me now, inshallah. Right, so slowly we're going to build up the image. Yeah, you can come back to me now. Hello. You can come back to me now. No, I don't want to put me on the camera. Right, we're going to slowly build up the image. Oh, yes. There you are, Khalil. Right, we're going to slowly build up the image. It's about starting with basic shapes and then adding more and more details, more details, and we'll talk about that a bit more, because kids get a bit discouraged when they start putting things in and it's in the wrong place because you probably rushed it. We'll talk about that a bit more, inshallah, when we come back from the break. Stay there. Don't even move. See, I didn't move, guys. Assalamu alaikum and welcome back. Well. What have we done so far? Right, so we are drawing Malcolm X. It was a carry-on from Monday's show where we talked about his life. Right, so we've gone back to basics, and basics is very important. Basics is where you begin, okay? A lot of people, let's see beautiful picture or something they see online or whatever, and they're thinking, oh, it's so awesome, I want to draw it right now, okay? And they jump ahead of themselves and start to draw that thing right now, and more often than not, it goes terribly wrong. And that is what I'm saying. You need to go to the basics, and this is what we're talking about. We're using 2 or 3 simple techniques. 1, we're using the grid system. 2, we're talking about the basic shapes of that particular item that we want to draw. And 3, we're talking about taking your time and starting your lines of whatever you're drawing slowly, very slowly, and slowly build up your image over time, okay? That's the only way you're going to get better. I didn't wake up one night, or one morning, I should say, just being able to draw really awesome. It took a lot of stress, a lot of pain, a lot of practice to get things right. I remember I couldn't draw hands. I found it very difficult to draw hands, and I practiced and practiced. I used to buy these anatomy books. I used to buy different books to look at it and draw it. I could never draw hands. Then I used to leave it and then come back, and then I found that the information, I had absorbed the information that I tried to learn about how drawing hands. I had absorbed it, and I could actually learn to draw it. So it took a long time, right? So we're going to have a quick look at what we've been drawing so far. So could we have a look at what we're drawing? I'm covering it up at the moment. I always do that for you lot. So I'm covering it at the moment. This is what we're copying at the moment. This is the Malcolm X picture, and you can see on here, he's got the grid system, okay? Let's see what I've made of it so far. Oh, quick. Right, so you can see it right there, guys and gals, mans, what I've done so far. Using the grid system, I have begun, and I say begun, to draw in some of the basic shapes of Malcolm's face, his chin, where his glasses go, using that to map out where things go. And this is a process that will take a lot longer than we have time for on today's particular show. So I'm still going to just continue until we just run close of running out of time. And again, I'm using a very thick pencil. I'm using a 2B pencil, okay? And 2B is very dark. Not to be or not to be, not that kind of 2B. That's 2B pencil, and it's quite dark, but it allows you guys at home to see it on the telly, doesn't it? Yeah, right? So I'm just going to use it to slowly put in the darker part, like under his neck here. Obviously, it's a little bit darker. I'm just going to shade it in for now. I'm going to shade in his beard here and there. Okay, and again, you can see on the light is clearly coming from this side because he's got that very light shade on that side of his face. Obviously, there's the light sources on that side. So that means I'd have to kind of put that line in here to represent the rest of his hair here. And like this. If we had time to go into fully coloring it in or fully shading it in, all of these things will have to come into consideration. The light source, how we're going to use the pencil or the whatever we're using to shade it in. Again, you can see it on the edge of his shirt here. There's a lot of light coming on again from here. Okay. You probably may have learned this at school, that talking about light sources and what happens when light hits a particular object. You may have seen people do things like this when they've got like round balls like this. And they talk about the sun hitting it here. And then that's where the light hits it, and all the shade is under here like this. Okay, you might have seen that. Okay, like this. Again, I'm going very quickly, and then it will slowly fade up like that. Because the light is hitting it here, and obviously the shadow would be cast over here like this on the table. Okay, like this. So you can get an idea of what I'm talking about, okay? That's the same principle of what we're talking about here with Malcolm, except the light is coming from this direction and is illuminating the right-hand side of his face here. Now, again, guys, I have to emphasize that I am rushing it just so that I can show you some basic stuff. If we had like an hour show or 2-hour show or something like that, wouldn't that be awesome? Then I'd really get into the nitty-gritty and show you some interesting stuff. Okay, another technique that I like to show you guys is using a scrap piece of paper to rest on the image that you're drawing. That way, when you're drawing like this and your hand is moving, you're not smudging the artwork underneath the paper. There you go, like that. Right, there you go. Right, as you know, Malcolm X was a freedom fighter. And I know I've asked you guys to send in your artwork for anything that you've drawn already, whether it's related to Malcolm X or not. I'd like to see your artwork, okay? But I also like to set a little challenge for you guys regarding today's particular topic. Malcolm X was a freedom fighter. If you want to take the challenge, you are more than willing to do so. The challenge is as follows. Malcolm X was a freedom fighter. I want you to interpret freedom in the form of a drawing. This kind of exercise I'm putting you guys through right now would be kind of typical for an art examination, where they would give you a title, maybe a quote, and they would ask you to interpret that quote or that title in an artistic manner, and you'd have to go away, or not go away, you'd have to actually do it then and there for 2 hours in the examination room and draw it. So this might be considered as good practice for y'all out there as well, right? Freedom, okay, free, I just spelled freedom, right? What does it mean to you? How would you interpret that? Maybe you can do some doves flying, maybe you could do another picture of Malcolm X, maybe you could do some chains breaking. I'm giving you too many ideas, you lot, you know what I mean, right? I'm just saying those off the top of my head, basically, right? How would you interpret freedom? Okay, so you can send it on that WhatsApp number that we normally put on the screen. I'll try and get the boys in the back room to sort that out in a minute, and the lower third, inshallah, and you can send it along there. Just make sure you put on there, this is for the Muslim Legends Art Show, and they will know what it's all about, and inshallah we'll be able to show it here on our show next time or whenever you guys send it in. Right, so as I said before, this is just a quick knock-up that I've done. In fact, I have one that I've drawn earlier. Ha ha ha. Mums and dads, you've seen Blue Peter, you know, they used to say that all the time. And this is one I did earlier. Kabling! There you go, pow! Right? You can see this obviously took a lot more time to do, you know what I mean? Like, right, because I've got a bit more shading in here and there. You can see I've taken my time, and the proportions are a bit better. The other one was a bit square, wasn't it? It was a bit square, that one. Yeah, never mind. At the end of the day, as I keep saying, it's not what we draw, it's how we draw it, okay? So this one, I'm quite happy with it. I've got the old shading in here. I had to put some darker shade on that side of his face to represent the darker side of this particular picture. I couldn't do all that blackness there. So I just did a bit of darkness around here to emphasize that there's that light on this side of his face, and there's a bit of light on this side of his jacket as well. The light on this side of his face is very bright. In fact, this picture of Malcolm is probably taken in the 60s. So again, like a lot of old photos, it's not going to be high definition, but it doesn't matter, okay? What matters is how well you can represent or represent or reintroduce or reinterpret any given image that you may have, inshallah. Right, I will, don't you worry. I know they're dying to see my lovely face. Right, so we're going to just put in a few more shading here and there as well. You can see I have already gotten rid of all the grid lines. I've only left the one on the outside, but you can see I used the grid line, and I used exactly the same technique that I've just showed you. The technique that we're talking about with the grid system and the basic shapes, it does work, but you have to be patient with the system, you have to be patient with the method, and be patient with yourself, okay? Remember, my opinion is that anybody can learn to draw, okay? And using this technique, I am sure, inshallah, you will be able to draw as long as you follow the technique, inshallah. Right, so let me just do a few more. Okay, all righty then. Right, so thank you very much, boys in the back room. Always giving me jokes, man. Right, let me see. So I'm just putting in a few more bits in here, just a touch up. See, this all should be black because his jacket is entirely black, like this. Okie dokie. There you go. And you can see I've even gotten some of the shading, the subtle shading on his tie here. Maybe too dark, not dark enough, excuse me. That should be knocked back a little bit. Right, okay. So guys, have a look at that, inshallah. Right, come back to me now, inshallah. Right, so as I said, that was another exact simple way that you can begin to learn properly. Once you get even better, you won't even need the grid system because, as I said, artwork is 60% looking and 40% doing, okay? You will be able to just draw stuff like that just by seeing it, but you have to start small with baby steps, start with the basics, start with the good system, and work your picture up, inshallah. Right, guys, I hope you lot have learned something, and I'm really looking forward to seeing your artwork, inshallah. On Friday, we're going to be doing some lovely game show bits and pieces, so make sure you join us. We're going to be giving out some lovely prizes. It's going to be awesome, but from now, this is me, Khalil Muhammad, saying thank you so much for joining me, guys. I look forward to speaking to you soon, and I might be on the telly later on as well. I don't know. We will see, inshallah. Guys, take care of yourself. Have a lovely iftar, inshallah. Take care. Assalamu alaikum. Eman Kids TV.